joined by Lindsay Delaney, the head women's lacrosse coach at Rowan University. Coach, thank you very much for your time. How are you doing today?
Thank you for having me. It's been a great day. It's a beautiful day
Yeah,
over here in South Jersey.
yeah, absolutely. Can you tell me a little bit about Rowan University?
Yeah, so Rowan's a Division III school, about approximately 16 to 18,000 undergraduate students. So it's on a larger side of a state school. It's in Glassboro, New Jersey. It's a small town, about 20 minutes outside of Philly, 45 minutes outside of Atlantic City. Known for engineering, education, biology, and we have two medical schools. So it's an up and coming. It was established in 1923 as a teacher school, but it's an up and coming university that's sought after and highly marketable. So we're in a really great place.
Yeah. Coach, let's talk about, your past season. Your team made it to the championship of the NJAC tournament last
Yeah.
season for the fourth season in a row. So just, tell me about last season. What was it like for your team to make it to, the final of the conference tournament for the fourth season in a row?
Right. So that's always our goal set, right? We want to be in the NJAC Championship game. We want to bid to the NCAA tournament. And the only way to do that is to play the toughest schedule that we can play in hopes that we come through in the NJAC Championship. If not, then we get a bid a different way. If you look at our overall record last year, it's probably it's mine as the head coach's worst record. I don't think that indicates our talent, which is the reason why we're in the NJAC Championship game. So we end up graduating 22 players in 2 years, in the 22 season and 23 season. So by the time the 24 season came around, it was a fresh new look. A lot of sophomores, a lot of a couple freshmen, but mainly our sophomore. We were sophomore driven in our offensive and defensive side, and we only had two seniors. So I think that what we had in talent, we lacked in experience, and that got us in the beginning. And you see, we lost a bunch of games by one goal against high ranking, high level opponents. And most of the teams, including TCNJ, who ended up losing to in the NJAC Championship, we had the lead in both the regular season game and the NJAC Championship game. And it's just we weren't able and mature enough to sustain the lead. I think we're incredibly talented. I'm really proud of them. And even though we lost more than we won, to us, weirdly, we kept thinking we were going to win the championship. We could go to the NCAAs. And then once we got in the NCAAs, it'd be a new season for us. I think we just kept building momentum as the season went on. So overall, if you go on win-loss records, it's not a great season. But if we go on growth, and our team and our program as a whole at its core, it's never been healthier, and our talent level is really high.
Mhm. Yeah, can you talk more about the growth and, talent level? Like, do you feel like your team has grown, from last season into obviously, lacrosse is in the spring, but, do you think the
Right.
growth is, improved from, last season up to this season?
Totally. So I guess, also, Gavin, you do a lot of interviews with a lot of coaches. When you lose more than you win, you can see that there might be a mass exodus, right? A lot of people unhappy, problems. It was the opposite for us. So we brought back our 6 year goalkeeper because she got
Okay.
2 years for COVID. So she returned. She's out of state. They're not on scholarship. They don't get money to be here. They just because they want to be here. We returned her and we returned our two fifth year seniors, or our seniors last year, or 4 years. Now they're coming back for their fifth year. So not only did we not lose talent, we gained 7 to 8 freshmen who are very talented. So we're only better now than we were, say 5 months ago. And I think that they're going to continue to get better because the talent was always there. It was just understanding understanding what the game needed in that moment, how to slow the game down. So it may look chaotic to other people, but to you, you're mentally in control, right?
Mhm.
We were ahead of the game. We were thinking next step, why we're playing in that moment. That's all the growth that they need to show. And we've seen it time and time again in this fall, them taking accountability and ownership, and coaching themselves and each other, which not waiting for direction from the coaching staff. So all of that growth that we kind of were hammering last year, we're seeing it shine this year in the fall.
Mhm. Yeah, and, correct me if I'm wrong, but in 2014, the NJAC, added the conference tournament, for women's lacrosse.
That's right.
So what was it like, when the NJAC, added the conference tournament in 2014? Because I believe, it used to be off of, your regular season, conference record, and now it's, they have a conference tournament. So in
Yeah.
2014, how did you and your team navigate to now, having a conference tournament?
I wasn't in favor of it. And
Okay.
we were independent prior to. I like the autonomy of wanting to schedule my own schedule. And here at Rowan, we want to schedule play the best. So this year, basing off the 2024 season, we were top 15 in the country in strength of schedule. And that's because it's our choice, right? That's what we choose to do in February and March. And we're going to continue to choose to do that. But we aren't being rewarded for that with the new conference tournament, right? We're not, because our conference as a whole isn't the strongest lacrosse conference, we aren't pulling more than one team out of our conference. So prior to 2014, you'll see the streak, right? When I took over, we went to NCAA tournament for the 6 or 7 years, whatever it was, straight 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 6 years. And we deserved it. We earned it. Our record state spoke for itself, but our strength schedule did too. Once we ended up getting the NCAA tournament, everything changed. Now we had to come out of a different pool if we didn't win our conference. And TC and J being ahead of us and being who they've been historically in women's lacrosse, it's been a mountain to climb. It really has. And I think we have separated ourselves from a lot of schools, but we still have work to do. We're still not winning that championship the way we need to solidify our spot in the NCAA tournament, which is what we want. We're not satisfied with just being the NJAC championship. We really need to turn the page and take over this NJAC consistently.
Mhm.
So it's been a
Well,
challenge.
yeah. Well, coach, throughout your career, you've been the head coach since 2008, I believe. Your team has made several NJAC finals and NCAA tournaments throughout your career. What has it been like? What do these accolades mean to you?
Yeah, it just means the program's in the right spot. I'm an alum, so
Yeah.
I I love it here. This is my home, and I was honored to take over the program at such a young age. I was only 24 when I was hired, but 25 when I my first season in 07, 08. 07 was the fall, 08 was the spring. And I was honored. And I'm still honored to this day. I still feel like blessed to be here. And I think that's resonates with my team and when I'm recruiting kids. So I think that my accolades aren't, I share them with all of these wonderful women that come and play here. They're the ones doing all the hard work, right? They're the ones when pressure's on that are performing. I hope we give them a template to be successful. And I hope that they love their time at Rowan. And I think that shines on the field. So I'm really proud of the work our programs put in to be consistent in Division 3 with what we have against us in the lacrosse world. And I continue to hope that we're going to continue to grow. I don't think we're there yet. There's more. There's more. There's more coming from Rowan lacrosse. I feel it. I just needed to get there sooner.
Yeah. So what did it mean to you, in 2007 when you're named as the head women's lacrosse coach, at Rowan, your alma mater, what did that mean to you back in 2007?
Yeah, I was teaching at the time. I was Miss Marino, Mary Marino, who was with me. So I played field hockey and lacrosse here. We won a national championship my senior year of field hockey. We were consistently top 4 in the country every year I played. And then in lacrosse, we were really successful one year, not as successful the next year. So we're a little bit more of like a roller coaster. So when I stayed on as Mary's assistant coach, who was my head coach in lacrosse and my assistant coach in field hockey, and my head coach in field hockey was my assistant coach in lacrosse. So when they decided to not do that anymore, I was, fortunate to be off on her top of her list. And I complimented her well because she complimented me so well. So I came in to run the defense, kind of redo the recruiting and whatever tasks she needed. I learned goalkeeping, draw scenarios, so very specific things that she wanted me to be in charge of. I was able to do that for 3 years where I taught at my high school that I graduated from. So I never actually anticipated being the head coach here. I didn't know she was retiring. And then when she announced her retirement, well, she told me and then she announced, I just couldn't imagine not being at Rowan. It came very clear that my time was going to be limited if I didn't apply for this position. But I also understood that my background was limited and I wasn't a head coach. So it was a risk they were going to have to take on me. And I'm honored that Joy Solomon, who's our AD at the time, took a risk on a real young female athlete from Rowan who didn't know anything but Rowan. And I feel like I've tried to expand my phenomenal assistant coaching staff. Lindsay Kate is my full-time assistant. We brought her on board to challenge me to think outside the box, to be something different than someone that's from Rowan. She's from Division 1. She played at St. Joe's. She coached at St. Joe's. Then she went down to Division 2. So she has a different view of lacrosse. So I think I know what my limitations are as a coach and as a person, and I try to surround myself with people so this program doesn't ever get affected by my personal limitations. I just want it to be the best version of itself at all times. So only thing I ever think of is the program as a whole and who can I bring in to make the program better. And I think that's why I was thrilled and nervous and had to win over older alumni. Some older alumni were like, what, why is this girl getting an option, a chance, so there was pressure. I like pressure. I don't mind.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure that I was ready for them. Did a lot of work to make sure I was ready to take over at such a young age because they were only about 2 or 3 years younger than me.
Yeah. As you mentioned, you were an assistant coach with Mary Marino, who led the women's lacrosse program for 20 seasons. What did you learn, from being an assistant, coach for Mary? And what drew you? You played field hockey and lacrosse at Rowan. What led you, to coach in lacrosse over field hockey?
I love field hockey,
Yeah.
love it in my core, but this is the opportunity that was presented to me. I love teaching. I love field hockey. I love lacrosse. So any direction my life was going into, it was like a win-win for me. This, I feel like, is me being able to teach still, but on the field instead of in the classroom and mentor young women. So check, check. And then I get to pick one of my two sports that I love more than anything. So check. So this is like 3 checks is a win for Miss Marino. What did I learn from her? I don't know how much you guys know about her, but she's one of the pioneers of Title IX. She was U.S. lacrosse. She's U.S. field hockey.
Okay.
She is wonderful amount of knowledge. So everything. I still talk to her in season. I probably talk to her 2 or 3 times a week just because she's checking in, likes to be involved, and I like to keep her involved. Um, what but what I learned about her was how to highlight my strengths and be consistent and be a leader amongst the leaders. And that's how she used to approach it with me. Coaching is just be the leader amongst the leaders. So they're looking at you to know how they want to handle themselves. So I try to be the last person on the field cleaning up. Nothing's too big for me in my leadership role. I'll clean up. I'll be early. I'll be wherever you guys need me to be to show you that if I'm willing to do it, I expect you to be willing to do it too. So Miss Marino taught me goalkeeping. I mean, that's huge because I can see it differently than I have such an advantage. Um, I think when I first started coaching, one of the best pieces of advice she gave me was if they can hear you, if you sound like a fan in the stands, then you're not coaching. So make sure you're coaching and you're directive because anyone can yell shoot or pick up the ball or run faster. You know what I mean? Like you need to be their eyes for the next step. So that's how I try to coach. And I know I owe all of this to her and Penny Kemp, who was my field hockey coach. I'm aware and I feel like they know that I'm appreciative of that.
Yeah. Coach, you talked about, there being a lot of pressure on you, when you first became head coach, in 2007. In 2008, your first season, as head coach, for the women's lacrosse program, you led the team to the second round of the NCAA tournament. So what was it like, to guide your first team, to the second round of the NCAA tournament? As you mentioned, there was a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
So, what did this mean to you?
Yeah, I got fortunate. We had a great group of women, and I still talk to most of them today. When I call them, they answer. When they call me, I answer. It's like a mutual respect and understanding that we have each other's back at all times. And I think that's how that year was. They were excited. They were excited because I was different than Miss Marino. I'm not better or worse. I'm not talking about better or worse. I was just different. I was a different voice and a different energy, a different look at the game and the way I constructed my practices. So I think they were eager and ready and they wanted to shine, but they wanted me to shine too because they had no doubt. They didn't want me to leave either when Miss Marino.
Hmm.
And now retirement, they were afraid, wait, then we lose her and we lose you. Like they didn't want that. So as out of respect for me, out of respect for our program, I think they just continuously gave the best effort they could. And, you know, they're outstanding. They're a great talented group. I think we've only gotten more talented since then in terms of lacrosse. But those first 4 year, 5 year programs, they were tenacious. They wanted to win. They didn't care about pressure. They didn't feel pressure. Like they just played. It was a unique time in women's lacrosse for us at Rowan, different than now. Whereas now I think we're maybe better lacrosse players, but not as tenacious and fearless as we were back then.
Yeah. Coach, can you tell me about, where you grew up, how you got started playing lacrosse, and just, some of your earliest memories, growing up, playing lacrosse?
Yeah, so I grew up in Collingswood, New Jersey. It's about 20
Okay.
minutes away, and it's one of the foundation South Jersey schools for women's lacrosse. I grew up with Sandy Ritter, who, if you research South Jersey Philadelphia lacrosse, top top five women high school coaches of all time. Uh, I was just blessed. I had B. Markwick before her, and then Sandy Ritter. So very old school, very matter of fact coaching, technical but old school. And then I had Steph Lamena. So Steph was a graduate of Collingswood and fell in line with Sandy Ritter. So they were both just I started playing field hockey in sixth grade, and I started playing lacrosse in seventh grade, and it was just made sense to me. The sport clicked. I will never say I'm the most athletic human on this field. Some of my athletes are more athletic than I am. I was just very good at what I did, and I was able to be a good communicator in the moment, and I had good game sense. I'm sure my athletic ability could have been better, but in terms of my game sense and my ability to perform in my role, that's where I shined. Um, so field hockey, lacrosse, all through high school at Collingswood, where we would win, conference titles, and so I was used to winning. And then coming to Rowan was an easy option because it's 20 minutes from my house. I wanted to teach, and I was recruited to play both my sports that I loved. So it was the best and easiest option for me. And then I've just never turned home. Here
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah, Coach,
25.
you already talked about my next question, but for you, what was it like getting to play both field hockey and lacrosse at Rowan?
Yeah. Yeah, a dream come true, right? So we were a powerhouse in field
Yeah.
hockey, tenacious, aggressive, fearless, feared by others. So I was able to bring that kind of like swagger attitude into lacrosse because my lacrosse teammates didn't have that. But when you're a two sport athlete, by the time you're in your sophomore year, you've already had 3 seasons under your belt. Whereas my fellow sophomores were going into the second season. By the time I was a senior in lacrosse, I had now gone through 7 seasons, right? Of the ups and the downs and the turmoils and all the good and the success. And so the good and the bad. So I feel like I was just more mature as an athlete because I got to play both sports. I didn't take anything for granted. I loved it. We competed. We left it on the field. And I think that's why I'm here today was because of what I did as an athlete. I never wanted to be defined because only one women's team at Rowan history has ever won a national championship, which is my senior year and in field hockey. And I never wanted that to define me, but I understood that that is what propelled me into the role that I'm in now. And I'm honored. I'm honored to be walking around and represent the winning traditions of our female programs here. and hope that I can encourage other women to go out there and win championships. Softball was close. Field hockey's been close. Track and field's been close. Like but we need one now.
Yeah. Coach, this is a big talking point in sports. You played two sports, in high school and college. Do you like to see players, play multiple
Yeah.
sports, or do you like to, see players who just focus, on one sport and get really good at it?
I wish I could have a kumbaya with every club coach and tell them to stop forcing these kids to play one sport. All of us here at Rowan understand that you cannot gain skills. Excuse me, let me rephrase that. You gain skills from other sports that you will never gain if you continuously focus on one sport. And burnout, injury rates are so much higher in these kids because they're forced to play lacrosse all year round and train all year round. Let them play basketball. Basketball and lacrosse are the same. It's area basketball. Let them learn how to set a pick and come off of that in basketball. Let them learn how to do an inbound. It's the same thing as a wide shot. Get them into soccer where they're working on containing and doing all these other sports. My son's 13. Nope. How are we playing all three sports until he can't, right? Until it's not feasible for him any longer. But you're not going to miss out on excelling in one sport because you are excelling in something else. Well, right now, women's soccer's All-American two-time goalkeeper is our lacrosse attacker.
Okay.
She doesn't leave that sport, even though she doesn't run like in that sport like she will in ours because she's a goalie. She was a starter last year, second or third in our team in goals. She's not losing out, right? She's excelling and she's learning leadership. And so, yes, to answer your question, play sports, play all the sports, play chess, go checkers, like, right? Like, chess gives you, I love chess. My dad coached my whole life. I grew up with a coach, and he coached at a local high school called Camden High. And for him, when his football players in the winter, they did chess. He wanted to be disciplined, think about next steps. It makes you different, right? So I'm an advocate for as many sports as you possibly can fit in your calendar, fit it in.
That's good. So Coach, let's go back to your time at Rowan.
Yeah.
Um, for field hockey, you were a co-captain and you played on the 2002 National Championship field hockey team that went undefeated that season. So,
Yeah.
just tell me about the 2002 season and how memorable that was.
I think at the time we didn't recognize what we were doing. We were so driven. We were driven to win. We were we were ready to win. The year before we got upset, right? It's kind of crazy to say it like this, but we got upset in the Elite Eight, and it stung, and it was miserable, and no one wanted to feel that feeling again. We were talented, but we also understood what we needed to do. So I just feel like it all clicked so easily. When I say that, there was so much hard work. And Penny Kempf was our head coach at the time, was a mastermind at getting us focused and goal oriented on the same page. There was a ton of work we put into it, and we were fit and we were ready and we mentally challenged each other and we didn't yes each other, right? We were each other's like, there was a moment in the national championship game where I played sweeper. So I was the furthest back, and my center back fell at the 50 with the ball. So it was a 2v1 against me. And, there was seconds left for me, like 48 seconds left on the clock when it happened. And, I just went right into my routine, what I would do every day at practice. Split the passing lane, work on my diagonal. I was able to jab, get the ball away, put the ball up the field, and then calm my team down and prepare for the next moment. But at the time, I was just thinking I had the best attackers in the country every day going against me at practice. So these two girls, they can't be good enough. And I think that's all looked at each other. We were so ready because we really believed that our attackers were the best we were ever going to go against, and our defenders were the best we were ever going to go against. So we were the best, and nobody else could be better than us. And that's how we kind of attacked it. We allowed very little goals scored that year, and we scored a lot of goals.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. And then we won. It was like, oh my God, like there's no more practice. Like it's over. Like this is crazy. It's like the season with no end because it never ended, It ended with a win, but it was weird to know that you were done. But so proud, obviously. And The university, I felt, supported us really well, and specifically our department. Obviously, we just hope that more teams can do it now. Let's go. It's been 25 years. It's been too long.
Yeah. So coach, what drew you to become, a coach? And can you tell me about, the start of your coaching career, coaching, lacrosse and field hockey, at the high school level?
What age is that? What you asked me?
Can you just tell me, what drew you to become a college
Oh,
coach and
sure.
just tell me about, coaching at high school? Um,
I started coaching when I was in middle school. I started
okay,
coaching kids when I was in middle school. Again, I'm a coach's daughter, right? My dad
okay,
suddenly passed about a year ago. Surprising to all of us, and but like he raised me to coach. I don't know, it just clicked. It made sense. I think of coaching is just teaching, and I love teaching, but I also love to see players be successful. There is no better moment than when I am silent on the sideline because they are just shining, and that means like we did everything we needed to do for them to be successful. So um I guess growing up with my dad being a coach kind of made it easy for me to know that's what I was going to do, but also just loving a whistle in my hand and a practice plan. I love practice days. Game days stress me out, but give me a good practice day where we're like going over no material and they're learning, then I'm all in. So I started right away. As soon as I was done field hockey, sorry, I was just getting some. As soon as I was done field hockey, so I'm gonna close this because I didn't know that was gonna beep in your ear. I was my O2 year, and then I did lacrosse. I was student teaching that next fall, and I started at one of our best South Jersey field hockey schools, high school, Haddonfield High School. I started coaching there right away. I mean, coaching was just going to be a part of what I was going to do, no matter what.
yeah,
College coaching, well, this is just icing on the cake.
yeah,
Um, that's how I looked at it. I knew I'd teach, and I figured I'd coach the rest of my life. I'm just honored to be here, making this my path now.
yeah. After coaching in high school, then, how special was it to return to Rowan, to coach lacrosse?
Yeah, I think I was always a little too competitive for my high school.
Hmm.
So I think it's not a surprise to anybody. Collingswood just inducted me into our Athletics Hall of Fame as a coach for my impact in women's sports, because I think they always knew this was like where I should be, and that maybe was not as competitive for me as it needed to be. So I think people who know me and love me the most and really appreciated me as an athlete or a person knew this was going to be where I was. For me, it was a complete surprise. Honored, blessed. That's how I live every day. I'm honored and blessed to be here.
Yeah. Can you tell me about your assistant coaches, Lindsay Kate Smith and Nicole Valiente, like how they helped you in your program?
Yeah, so Nicole's been with me ever since. So I taught Nicole at high school in
Okay.
Collingswood. And then the year I left was '07. It's the year I, became the head coach here. '07, '08. She came to Rowan. She was graduating high school in '07, and she came to play field hockey and lacrosse as well. I helped recruit her to come here. She's a stud athlete, just completely athletic. 4-year starter for both field hockey and lacrosse. Wonderful at what she does. Defender. Came here, made our program better. Period. Athletically, just made our program better. Two-time NJAC Defensive Player of the Year, should have been an All-American. Only reason why we beat TCNJ and won the NJAC Championship that year. So, but the best thing about Nicole is like she's a sponge, and she absorbed all the things like in a positive way that I would have wanted her to in terms of her leadership and her abilities to lead. And now she's a kindergarten teacher at a local elementary school, and she stayed on with us to be a assistant coach. She's not here as often because of her job, obviously. Like right now, we're going to practice, and she won't be here. But she runs our sub box. I don't even have to really speak; she just knows because she's been with me for so long. So challenge me. So that wasn't going to be Nicole's role. To challenge me, I thought the 2016 season was a disappointment, and I was disappointed in myself. So I went to my AD, and he said, "What do we need to do?" And I said, "I need to hire someone who's not an alum." Because up to then, I always had an alums coach. And so we put the position out, and Coach Linz, we call her Lindsay Kate Smith. She applied because she just had a baby and she was moving back to New Jersey. And I was like, on first impression, I thought this woman's gonna challenge me a little bit. and she is driven, has her own views. She sees things differently. We have the same end goal, but two different ways to get there. And that's really what I needed. And that's what they needed. Not about me, but it's what they needed. They needed to hear a different voice. And now, Rowan, love you, Rowan. Thank you. You made in the pandemic, her position became full time.
Mhm.
So whenever the whole world was shutting down, they committed to our program. They committed to her, and now she's full time. And I'm just blessed to have a full time assistant coach.
Yeah. Coach, so you attended Rowan, and now you've been the head coach for the past 17 seasons.
Yeah.
What does Rowan mean to you, and what are some of your favorite memories from coaching the past 17 seasons?
Well, that's a loaded question there, Gavin. I'm just gonna say Rowan
Mhm.
is home for me. That's
Yeah.
it. Home. It's where my heart is. It's where I hope my son goes to school. It's where my dad went to school. It's just it's home. And I think all my players know that. That's how I feel. And I feel that about them. My greatest achievement, and I mean this, my greatest moment is when I look back right now and I can tell you how many young women that I've coached through Rowan's program are now coaching at their high school, their club, their college. That's it. Our branch, our tree has gotten so large and we are everywhere. And I'm so proud of them. So on the field, we've had so many great, tangible moments of winning and success. And I'm not going to point out individual humans, but they know who they
Mhm.
are. Maybe have overachieved, or just achieved more than they ever thought they could here. But as a program in its whole, the fact that we are as inclusive as we are, that we are at our GPA is what it is academically, the amount of community service that these young women choose to do blows my mind. And the fact that we have so many coaching, and prior to my arrival, we didn't. I'm going to stick with that as being like my proudest thing.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Go
Uh,
influence a generation of young women. I'm so
yeah.
proud of you.
Yeah. Finally, coach, what do you enjoy most about being a coach? Can you tell me about, the passion for coaching that you've mentioned? And, just, what does it mean to you to work with your, players, student athletes?
Yeah, it's everything, right? They are everything. They're the reason why I'm here. Like they're
Mhm.
recruited student athletes and they come to us with a pretty narrow vision. And when the gift they give me is that as they go through this program and we challenge them to be ready for adulthood and life and difficult conversations. I don't shy away from difficult conversations. And as you can tell, I think I'm pretty honest. Like I'm just blah. Like this is who I am. And I want them to be that way as well. So I think my passion is them. They drive it, right? They get out of me what they give to this program and they're giving their best. I'm gonna come every day, no matter how many years in, and give my best as well.